Hey gang, I'm Debbie Campbell and welcome to Web Workout 101. Today we're in beautiful Southern California and we just finished a hike. I'm out here with my friend Steve Moses. Hello Steve.
Hi Debbie.
Steve runs Orange County Hiking and Backpacking Club, a group that I was affiliated with when I lived in Orange County. It's a great group. How many members do you have now?
Heading on 2,400 members.
2,400 people hiking with him. And how often do you do events?
We do about 90 hikes a month of all levels, beginner, intermediate, advanced. We do what we call conditioning hikes to get people in better shape. We do day hikes in which we'll take a backpack, head out of town for the entire day, and then we'll do overnight hikes, which are either backpacking or stay in a hotel, but where it's a multi-day trip.
And where have you gone on your trips?
We've gone everywhere. We've gone to places in Big Sur, a place called Sykes. We've gone to the Sierras. We've gone, Grand Canyon, Bryce, Utah.
I took a group to Zion.
We have a group right now actually up in Mount Hood, and earlier this summer we had a group do a bunch of the mountain ranges in Washington State. So the group does travel and go other places as well.
So hiking is a great way to get in shape. Now, OCHBC basically operates centrally in Southern California. So the majority of your hikes are local hikes.
Yeah, majority of our hikes are here in the local area in which we're going, driving less than 10 miles to get to the local hikes.
And you try to cater to all different varieties of exercisers.
Absolutely, with the focus being conditioning. So we condition and get in shape so that we can go do some of these extra out-of-town hikes.
So I know that when I was affiliated with a group, I used to lead some of the hikes, and they would vary them. They were all the way from people who could barely walk a mile.
Absolutely.
All the way up to people,
level.
Yeah, that could, I don't know, what's the top amount you can get in a day with your group hiking, a day hike, a full day hike, 15 miles?
Absolutely. We've done 22-mile hikes. We did Catalina Island, and that's a full 22-mile hike. Lots of hills, so by the end of the day, you're pretty exhausted.
And hiking is a great way to meet people, too. I mean, when you have how many people did you say, 20?
Well, we have 2,400, but exactly, on an average hike, we may have anywhere between 40 and 60 people of all types and varieties and speeds and skills. We ask people to kind of segment themselves, their level, but it's very social. If you've ever walked 10 miles, to tell you the truth, it can get a little boring, but when you have 4 or 5 or 6 conversations during the 10 miles, it goes by like that.
And it's great too, because when you have committed that you're going to show up for a hike, because they do kind of ask for a commitment that you're going to be there, people are waiting for you and you're much more likely to show up for something.
Absolutely. You feel like you have an obligation, so your likelihood to cancel drops to a minimum. You do show up when you commit.
Yeah, and I love hiking. I've been hiking for 6 years. It's my favorite thing to do, but when I wake up at 6 in the morning getting ready to go out, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to go. But it's a lot easier to talk yourself into it when you know, okay, well, Steve's going to be there waiting for me. My friend Cindy's going to be there. I got to get my ass out of bed and
Absolutely.
go. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I know that when you hike, you plan ahead.
We absolutely plan ahead. We know where we're going. We post a map so those who don't know where they're going have access to a map. We have a hike leader. We usually will have 2 sweeps. A sweep is somebody who nobody can get behind. So there's somebody constantly training along. If somebody does have issues, we usually carry walkie-talkies. We'll have the lead slow the group down or stop so the rest of the group can get back up. We try and stay within eye shots or within a relatively close range of the person ahead of you so the group tries to stay together. We do find that groups break down into different bulks, different subgroups. And in that case, we will have a leader for each one of those subgroups. So we'll have a super fast, we'll have a fast, we'll have an intermediate on a given hike.
Yeah, and so hiking safety becomes key, especially there's not just OCHBC in Southern California. Most communities have a Sierra Club, have an outdoor club. They all operate with the concept of safety first. But if you decide, okay, I just want to get a group of my girlfriends together and go out and hike, I think the main safety points there are that you always let somebody know where you're at.
Absolutely.
You never hike alone.
Never hike alone.
Try to have a cell phone with you.
Take a map.
Take a map, or a compass, or both.
I think it was the Boy Scouts, they put together a list that they call the 10 essentials. And the 10 essentials are you have to have a map, water, food, a mirror or whistle, a GPS device these days, You have to let somebody know where you're going, and equally important, when you're going to return. There's a couple other issues, but we practice the 10 essentials.
And another thing that I know can always be an issue when you are taking new people hiking is people hiking within their own capabilities.
Absolutely. One of the issues that we have are people who will leave a hike in the middle without letting somebody know, and that's why we have this sweep. It does happen from time to time. We absolutely don't encourage it, and we don't like it. But yeah, absolutely, you should hike within your ability. And a lot of people don't realize, but hiking is different than walking. When you add the element of hills into the walking process, it uses different muscles, and it's a shock to some people, even those who are long-time runners. When you walk up a hill, that's a lot more of a lunge, using different muscles, and brand new hikers don't sometimes realize where their skill levels are at.
Right, so when you start hiking with a group, maybe, because what I or you might think is an easy hike, someone else is not going to think is an easy hike. So when you're joining a group, you might think about that concept of always starting out with what that group considers a beginner hike, even if you don't think that you're in that zone.
Absolutely, it's easy to work your way up. We have a lot of people that jump in at a higher level than they should. They get, they don't enjoy the experience, and they never show up again. Absolutely start at the beginner and work your way up.
And that's what we kind of stress at Web Workout 101 too, is that, you don't want to overdo it from the get-go, because then you're not going to look forward to the next experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You always want to make it fun. You always want to challenge your body and make things tougher, but you still want to work within your own capabilities. So let's talk a little bit about different skill levels.
Okay.
So if I've never hiked before, what should I look for in a group?
Well, again, once you join a group or you find a group, you want to find those people. You want to talk to the organizer and ask him, describe a little bit of your background, your experiences, what levels you are. He will probably recommend that you start at the beginner level and work your way up. Generally, if you've walked on a treadmill, you know what speeds you're going at. How we classify them is 2 miles an hour to 3 miles an hour is what we call beginner or advanced beginner. Anywhere between 3 miles an hour and 3.5 miles per hour is a strong intermediate. And anything 3.5 and above is what we consider to be super fast. So you can sit on the treadmill and kind of get a feel about where you're at in your skill level. The next element are these hills, and that's what throws people off. A lot of people come out here saying, oh, I can walk 5 miles, no problem. Mm-hmm. You get some of these hills, your heart gets racing, you get a little tired. There's a lot of elements that the people don't calculate into.
So I remember the first time that I went hiking with my girlfriend, and I had been a runner for a long time, and we went up to Peters Canyon, which is not that hard, but I remember thinking, what the hell is this woman trying to do to me? I thought she was trying to kill me, because those hills make a huge difference. And if you have knee issues, you also have to be very careful of the downhill. I always, and we can talk about poles too. I know you hike with poles. I love hiking with poles too. You actually burn more calories using poles. And it can take some of the stress off of the going downhill for your knees. My orthopedic always recommends hiking with poles.